Hey there, Tamir from Fibonaccis-Traders.com here with the daily market recap for December 13th. The fastest way to blow up account is asking someone on social media what to do next. Follow people, study strategies, but always do your own due diligence. Hit the like, subscribe, and let's hit the charts. We had a pop and a drop post CPI report. SPY went all the way to this trend line. As we said, this yellow trend line will be a major resistance for price action, and price tried and went back inside, closing the morning's gap. Let's see tomorrow. FOMC decision on the rate. QQQ also tried to break up and above this blue trend line. This blue trend line is a very strong resistance for price action. Went up and dropped back down towards the 286 area. IWM also all across the board we see trend lines are the true support and resistance for price action, and IWM also bounced and got rejected by this trend line and went back down to close the morning's gap. Dow Jones holding above the 340 area, and now we see 350 again as a resistance for price action. VIX, what are they on VIX? As we said yesterday, we had this gap here, and we said 100% of all gaps on VIX are getting filled throughout time, and here we go, closed. And now let's see where VIX will head next, all according to tomorrow's Fed rate decision. XLE back inside to this uptrend channel with a doji gap to the downside. We know gaps will get filled 80% of the time, so this gap might get filled with a touch on this trend line before the next leg up. Always keep your eyes on price action and manage risk according to the levels and trend lines. As you can see, no other indicators, not even volume on the chart, because everything follow price. So teach yourself also to become your own indicator and follow price. SMH tried to break up and above the 230 area. 230 area is a very important level of support and resistance throughout 2022. Tried, failed, went back down. We still have a small gap. Let's see if this gap will get filled and if SMH can break to the upside, or are we going back to test the 214. Natural gas inside day, nothing special. We have this gap to the downside here. We have the trend line also overhead here. So let's see where natural gas will take us throughout the week. Oil continuing its bounce to the upside towards this orange trend line. If price will manage to break up and above this orange trend line, so with high probability the next major resistance for price action will be the longer term trend line, which is this one. AMD tried to break up, went back down, closed morning's gap. Now let's see where price will take us after Fed decision. We have NVDA, and these two trend lines we drew way back. You can check my Twitter I posted NVIDIA with these two trend lines and also in previous videos, and we said that these two trend lines identify a very strong resistance for price action, as it helps us to identify higher highs on the short term, and now price is between these two trend lines. AAPL, same here, try to break up and above with a major gap to the upside and then dropped back below this trend line. Now 145 is holding, so following price to the downside. These are the levels that we need to keep eyes on, and to the upside, let's see if AAPL can manage finally to break up and above and closing above this white trend line. Tesla, good CPI, bad CPI, Fed decision, doesn't matter. Tesla continuing its way to the downside, melting every day that goes by. Tesla continuing to melt to the downside, trying to hold above this trend line. This trend line represents a long-term lower lows. Now Tesla barely holding, not so much. 136 to the downside might be next for Tesla. Microsoft finally breaking up and above this trend line here, but let's see tomorrow if Microsoft can touch this trend line and make a bounce to the upside towards 273 and maybe even towards the 294 area. But if we look left, this break up and above the trend line already happened during August earlier this year, so it might happen again. So keep your eyes on price levels and trend lines. Bitcoin finally breaking up and above the 17,400 area. This 17,400 was almost 1 month of a resistance area, breaking up and, not surprising, to the next level of resistance, the 800. Now let's see, we have here a short-term trend line that helps us to identify higher lows since the low of November. Low, higher low, and now price is getting tighter and tighter. Let's see where Bitcoin will take us. Netflix trend lines are the true support and resistance for price action. We can see price since April trying to break up and above. Every time it touches this trend line here, it goes back down. Now we have this trend line, the orange one, as a short-term support for the higher lows. We have this trend line here, long-term resistance for the higher highs, following price. Never be biased. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think? Which trend line will get break first? This trend line here to the upside or the orange one to the downside? Boeing managing to hold above the trend line. We might get a retest for this trend line as support because it was a very long-term resistance for the lower highs. Let's see if Boeing can touch and bounce towards the 212, or if Fed rate will be more than market expectation, we will see Boeing going back inside and below the trend line with 170 to the downside as the first support that we need to look at. Two new names that I'm following: MTCH, I'm waiting for a break up and above this long-term trend line, following price and managing the risk according to these levels. And we have also INMD with higher lows since June 2022. We have this strong resistance at the 39-38 area, long above and short below this one. Again, everything is for educational purposes only. Always do your own due diligence. So if you find this video helpful, please hit the like and subscribe. Check the links below. And until the next video, stay safe.